Friends, guests, and online viewers, thank you for stopping by. My name is Daniel Garber, and I'd like to personally take this opportunity to remember a current historical figure that might have been forgotten. His name is Lonnie G. Johnson. He's an inventor, serviceman, and has worked for our country and for the nation for many years. I want to take you back to a simpler time in Mobile, Alabama. He was born 1949. Father, mother, 5 siblings, still in a segregated Alabama, legally segregated still. He went to high school at an all-black school, which was Williamson High School at the time. Out of necessity, his father was a handyman and tinkered, taught his children to build toys by hand, and created the inspiration for invention inside Mr. Johnson. They would build things from a China berry shooter made out of bamboo to taking apart a lawnmower and scrap parts and building a go-kart to ride around the streets until they get pulled over by the officers, all the way to his first submission to a science fair that was hosted by the University of Alabama. And he created Linux, an air compressed robot that won first place. And at that defining moment in his life, he knew from that point on what his journey would be. He continued his education professionally and went to the Tuskegee University to earn his BS in engineering, and then his MS in nuclear science, and which was later provided an honorary PhD from that same university. He took his career path right after colleging to Oak Ridge National Laboratories, and then to the U.S. Air Force as Chief Space Nuclear Power Safety Officer. In 1979, Mr. Johnson was the NASA jet propulsion with the Galileo project, and was also part of the inventions of the products that they use on the stealth bomber. Those moments in time, he was awarded many medals of honor and recognition from NASA and the Air Force just for his participation in his creations. He then later went to return back to the Air Force Base, and in 1987 went back to the NASA program to be part of the Mars and the Saturn projects, where he continued to win recognition and awards from NASA in the United States for his productions. The interesting thing about Mr. Johnson is that besides caring for our country and doing a wonderful job with his inventions and multiple patents that he has, is that back in 1982, Mr. Johnson, during one of his creations on his spare time, working for the country, he was working on an eco-friendly heat pump for environmental powering. And while creating some of the internal working parts inside the mechanisms, the water population components, was inspired to create his first prototype water gun, and he gave it to his daughter. And from that moment on, Mr. Johnson knew that he had something that could possibly fund some of his other projects that he was working. So in 1989, Lonnie G. Johnson licensed the Super Soaker. Yes, the original, the one and only Super Soaker that you and I, more than likely, have been sprayed down somewhere, sometime at a summertime party. He created it in 6 years and sold it to Laramie Corporation, and then 6 years later to Hasbro Corporation, was bought out by them. And in the first 2 years of production from 1989, the Super Soaker produced over $200 million in sales. By the time 2016 has come, the Super Soaker has earned upwards and over $1 billion in production sales from his inventions of playing. Yes, Mr. Lonnie G. Johnson, our national honors of PhD and diplomacy and working for the government creating spacecrafts that get our information back and forth from Mars and Saturn in the stealth bomber, knows how to play hard as well as how to work hard. He's a gentleman that continues to work diligently. He hasn't stopped. And part of his development for Johnson Research and Development, he's working on the acceleratron solid state and electromagnetical system, which has earned him the Johnson Thermodynamic Energy Converter, which was a 2008 world-renowned top 10 products to change the world. He hasn't stopped, and I don't think he's going to. He's on a mission to create. This is a man who knows how to work hard and play hard. So to you, Mr. Lonnie G. Johnson, thank you for all you do for our country, for the betterment of society, and making sure that we have fun along the way. Thank you.